are your feelings on aborting the fetus in the case of rape or incest, or depending on the life of the mother?
There's a lot here, and there's a lot that we hear, and a lot of misinformation too. But Jay, why don't we start with you?
It was a few shows ago. I didn't get much talk. I'm taking the next 20 minutes to explain this.
There you go.
You can have my time.
Look, you roll with it. We yield to the floor to you.
The first thing I would say is I prefer not to use the word fetus in this generation, just because, and I understand that's the actual clinical definition of a baby, but fetus makes it seem like it's not a human being. And I think in order to determine anytime when you're dealing with abortion, you have to determine, first of all, what are we going to call the life of the unborn? What are we going to call that?
That's
so if it's a baby, if it's a human being, no matter what, you have to ask yourself the question, with rape and incest, I'll start with those two, when is it okay to murder an innocent human being? That's how you have to look at that. When is it okay to murder an innocent human being? Because if that is a human being in that womb, no matter what you're saying, that is murder. So is because somebody got raped or because some incestual thing happened, is it okay to take the life of an innocent human being? And that's how we have to look at it. Now, depending on the life of the mother, that's a whole different scenario. If my wife is pregnant, she's giving birth, they're saying, hey, if we don't take the baby now, like my youngest son, or my oldest son rather, he came at 34 weeks. He was born 3 pounds, 6 ounces.
And he's a cutie.
He is. He takes after his mom. So, even though you know, but anyway, 3 pounds, 6 ounces, she was going in just for a regular checkup. They said, we got to take the baby right now. Wow. Because her health was in jeopardy and his, because she went preeclamptic. Yeah. So they took the baby immediately, and it could have jeopardized his life. Yeah. But thank God we saved both. So I don't want to make it, that's God. Two different things there. The life of the mother being in jeopardy, not could be, but in the moment, that's another story versus rape and incest. So that's the short version of it. You have to realize, when is it okay to take the life of an innocent human being, which is what I believe from the moment of conception, that is what that baby is, an innocent human being.
Dr. Glaze.
Well, I mean, I like what Jay said, and this is the question, when is it okay to murder? And I'd like, because, we can get into rape and incest and look at them as heinous things, man, to rape 12-year-old girl, that's heinous. Incest, that's heinous. And the product is a baby, and I like what, innocent. This baby did not ask to be born. Right. It just came into existence. It's innocent. So when is it okay to take the life or kill an innocent child? So, I mean, because again, I'll say this, that the thing I like about hard questions, I'm on here to answer questions, but there's some questions that I just want to hear what these guys have to say, because they have expertise, and I like, because as a matter of fact, I was writing down what you were saying, because it makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, you and your wife are involved in this arena, in this field of ministering to women.
And so far, we've never had somebody, in the 4 years we've been doing this, somebody that's come in that's been raped or incestual. Because what people don't understand, let me say this real quickly, that most abortions, I think it's 97%, 98% of all abortions are simply used for, I didn't use protection, I got pregnant, it's an inconvenience. It is not, like people, even throughout the election, people talking about, oh my goodness, what about the life of the mother, and what about this, that, and the other? Wait a minute, it's less than 2% of all abortions that are had. I mean, so we can't make a case for that and say, well, let's let all these other babies, 97 out of every 100 babies be killed because somebody raped and incest. Now, I understand that that's a very delicate situation as well. I don't want to seem light with that. That needs to be handled with care, but I don't think there's ever a time that we should take the life of the unborn.
And I'm glad you brought that out, that it's such a small percentage that we're talking about here. And, one of the elders at my church is a product of rape. He's given his testimony several times. And again, it had nothing to do with him. That's a human being that's innocent. But I would say something else about, the so-called life of the mother. And I've read articles, and I've even talked to medical professionals. I don't know of a single bona fide case where aborting the baby is necessary to save the mother's life. Ordinarily, abortion brings more risk because giving birth is natural. That's what the body does. And I've looked up some information on National Library of Medicine and Reuters, from WHO, the World Health Organization. It says 47,000 women every year die from botched abortions. It's abortion that puts the woman's life at risk, not having babies. Her body naturally has babies. It's abortion that does that. And even in the so-called, countries like America, only 90% of abortions are safe, don't have some kind of complication. Some of them serious. 6 months later, they're going in because they have a perforation in another organ that's a reflection of what happened in the abortion, or they have hemorrhages, or they have lacerations, or they have a reaction to something because now there's a septic and there's infection. All kinds of women who have abortions in this country have all kinds of complications, and some of them die. They die in their abortion. But I don't know of a single case, medically speaking, where an abortion would save the woman's life. I don't even think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much along those lines, and we need to move on to the next question. But there's, these are questions that need to be taken seriously, need to be handled properly. But sometimes we're hearing a lot of misinformation or exaggeration out there and related to some of these statistics. But